All right, people. All right, everybody. What's good? What's good? This is I have no idea what to say every time I get on this little thing, but I do know what I want to say and what I want to talk about. News just came out. Director of Moonlight and Beale Street, Barry Jenkins, wants to do something on the level of Black Panther. Oh shoot! Okay, he wants to do something on the level of Black Panther, and I think that is amazing. He's looking for a sci-fi story to do, and I think that's amazing. I think part of the reasons why I write sci-fi is that I believe it will do and could do very well, in terms of box office returns. However, the question is, what story does he have to choose from? Now, I know I've been on here talking about, black science fiction writers need to ask bigger what ifs. We need to ask bigger questions, and that's partly because, science fiction has a what do you call it, a reputation to also be profound and prolific in the things that it addresses in its stories, right? And stories like Star Wars, maybe the Star Trek movies, they're just, fun things. You know what I'm saying? They're good experiences, but are they, asking a profounder question about life and things like that? Not always. I mean, the books definitely get deeper than the films. So I'm wondering what would be really cool for Barry Jenkins. Does he do an existing brand like Storm? Somebody was saying Storm, and I think, that might be good, but there's no Wakanda in Storm. There's no other planet in Storm unless you take her to another planet and you write an original Storm story. I mean, the cool thing about Black Panther was it fell in line with Infinity Wars, and he was an important character. He had a comic book, a couple of series. He'd had an animated story. He was a viable character, right? Even by the time Ryan Coogler got him, he had already even appeared in a film. So do you Barry Jenkins, you want to do something big? Do you take an existing character and make, expand on them? Which character do you take? I mean, Blade is available, but still Blade may be small scope. But if you write an original story, maybe you can do something with, some black vampires, vampire hunter culture, something like that. Maybe you show a whole nother side of the Blade element. I do know, with Moonlight and Beale Street, Barry has a element of homosexuality that's present in his stories. I don't have a problem with that. Maybe it's a problem for some people, but it doesn't seem like it's a problem for him getting awards. So I wouldn't run from that. Also, black stories. So I don't think he just wants to do a generic science fiction story. I think he wants to do a black science fiction story, and not something that you make black. I don't think that would be good either. I think he can't take a story that's white, with white characters, that's familiar, and then make it black. I don't know, but I'm going to say I don't think so. I think they will get some backlash, and we should be over that. As a black science fiction writer that knows a bunch of other black science fiction writers, I would say that might be even offensive to us because we got so much original work. Now, do you take a story like James Baldwin's story, or a story like that from a great black science fiction writer? That question is like powerful. Of course, I always say my story is, Zorro, a tale of alien Avengers, and basically because that's like a Independence Day, and the aliens are black and they get into the politics of Earth and, almost offer a ultimatum to even out the racial climate and the atrocities that's going on Earth. That would be major, but I think might be too political. Again, I don't know, but that would be my suggestion. I don't really know what would be wrong with it. But do you take a Samuel Delany? Samuel Delany is a black science fiction pioneer. He wrote black sci-fi like Octavia Butler did before it was black sci-fi. You know what I'm saying? And he's got a couple of stories with gender fluidity or gender variety in it. However, you would have to flip the script. I'm not gonna say anything else. I mean, you can do a whole lot. I haven't even read all of his stories, but Nova, you'd have to flip the script, and I think that would be cool. But it almost would be like writing an original story. Then you have our great queen mother of black sci-fi, Octavia Butler, and I think she's seen a lot of energy, because when you say black sci-fi, she's the first name that comes to mind. Now there's talk about television shows. There's a couple of books that she's had been remade into comic books, and her books are still on the shelves. So you've got some stuff. However, again, I don't know. I can't really call it, because a lot of her stories may not be as big as Black Panther, and I don't know whether he's going for big, like spaceships and Star Wars big, or he's just happy with having a very impactful movie and staying within that realm of heartfelt stories. And from what I'm thinking, he may not want to go heartfelt. He may want to bring his heartfelt as a sub-line in another story, and then I'm with you. Now, am I ready? Okay, I don't even know if I'm ready. I say, Zorro, but what of my books do I even have? I mean, closest ones I would say would probably be Harlem Shake, and that's about an earthquake that hits New York City. It has a lot to do with black people, and it launches a post-apocalyptic series. So there's some legs to it in terms of it going to sequels and stuff. However, it is. I'm totally available for whatever in the story, because the story is not necessarily only about characters, but it's about the experience that they have dealing with this earthquake. So even if you were to write a gay character in there or expand on the gay characters that I have in the story already, I wouldn't have no problem with that, and anybody that read it wouldn't have a problem. My other one is Welcome to Boss Lady Planet, because for obvious reasons, that's a space opera. And that story is fine, but again, I'm an independent writer. You would be discovering me, so that would be the challenge. What else do we have, that's out there? I don't know what other stories. Again, I think that Snoop Dogg angle and story, commentary is still haunting us in the back of the head. No more slavery pictures. I don't know if he could do a slavery story. And I know, there was quite a few black sci-fi space stories that even stemmed from a very strong racial or slavery experience. And I used to always complain, like, how are you traveling all through space and time and end up on Earth during slavery? You know what I'm saying? Now, contemporary America, you can't argue with that. They came during Obama's time period, or Bush, or even now, if they've come during the Trump era, you can't really, sorry, I'm trying to block the light, but you can't really get mad at that scenario. So I don't know. Stephen Barnes, he has, of course, my series is the gosh, I'm forgetting the name. Dang, Lethal something. Oh my God, I drew a blank. What is his? Gosh, lethal something. Oh man, that's really whack. I can't remember. But that's one story, okay? His other story, Lion's Blood, that is an epic, which is alternative history, which is like Moors. It's like if Moors were to have enslaved Europeans instead of Europeans enslaving Africans, and or Arabs or Africans, Northern Africans would have said, "Nah, we're about to colonize Europe again." Or colonize and dominate Europe again. I don't know. I mean, you have the Michael B. Jordan angle for Mr. Jenkins, and that is to do a Mansa Musa story. The only problem that I have if he goes back into history is I wouldn't want him to bring homosexuality into an African story that didn't have homosexuality in it in real life. Like if you're doing Queen Nzinga, understand she was heterosexual. You can't make her homosexual, right? She might even be anti-homosexual, and so were many other African kings. It's okay to, do like coats. It's not even okay when he does it, but when he makes the Dora in Wakanda, which was patterned after the Dahomey women in Africa, and makes them gay in the comic book, that's a little easier to swallow than to doing a story about the original Dahomey women and making them gay when they were actually heterosexual married women. So if he does an Egypt story, kind of the same thing. You can't really bring homosexuality into a story, or, I don't think it's a good idea to bring homosexuality into a story that doesn't have homosexuality. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you find a story in history that does, if it gets dark matter, that book has some good Langston Hughes stories and a few other people's stories that deal with, great black writers that deal with a lot. My homegirl, L.A. Banks. We talk about contemporary writers. L.A. Banks, Tiana Reeve Tiana Reeve, she's paranormal. I don't know if she's got a space opera story, and I mean, she's a person that I take motivation from and influence from, but I've only read her paranormal stories, right? L.A. Banks, she has a 13-book series based on a vampire huntress, Minion, and I can't remember what they call it. It's Vampire Huntress series, but that's like, he could supersize it. It's almost like a serious Buffy the Vampire Slayer, without the comedic elements to it. But again, I don't know if that scope is as big as Black Panther. Black Panther is a big epic, it's not space, but you got flying hovercraft ships, so golly, you almost say, all right, let's bring some people together and write an original story. That's crazy, but we tried. Give Milton Davis credit. They did Dark Universe. William Hatashi. I haven't finished, I haven't really checked out his series. He got two more books about black people living on the dark side of the moon. Something like that might be epic. But again, I think if anything, you do a story inspired by one of those stories and then take it from there. But I think, if anything, this is a wake-up call for us as writers. We need to answer the call. We need to have these stories ready. So we up here writing small little street corner crime stories when, he wants something on the level of Thanos. And we need to think on that galactic level of humanity, life in the universe. I don't know any black story that does it. Maybe Samuel Delaney comes close to it. Maybe somewhere in one of Octavia Butler's small short stories it exists. I don't know if Stephen Barnes, his book, now I remember the title, Street Lethal, I don't know if that does it. So all I can say is, yeah, this is a wake-up call for black sci-fi. We should have some books that's ready. In this thread, wherever I post it, if you think of some stuff that you think would be ready, yo, post it. You think that he should consider? I'm running a ticket tape. So yeah, post your story. All right, cover the book, comic book. We can go with comic book. I didn't even talk about that. Maybe some comic books that's ready. But anyway, maybe next blog I'll do that. Peace.